Welcome back. Today we're going to be counting and identifying each rib from the sidelying position, first on a skeleton and then on a live model. In counting the ribs, one of the most important factors for success and accuracy up into the thoracic is to have an accurate starting point. So here we're going to be counting from the bottom up, and we're going to be starting at rib 12. And it's very important that we're sure we're on rib 12. And sometimes it can get confusing here, given a lack of space here or some very thick tissue here. So in order to find rib 12, an easy way is to come off the ilium and into the lumbar space here, and then work your hand up until you feel what is obviously a rib. And you can confirm it's rib 12 by coming out and feeling for the point here. Rib 11, which is going to be a little bit further around the side of the body, almost on the midline, will also have a point. Those two are what's called floating ribs, and there's no front attachment for either of them. So make sure you find both edges and you know that you have both rib 12 and rib 11 identified. From there, it gets easier. Once we've identified ribs 12 and 11, we can start doing a technique called walking your fingers. And basically, you're going to walk your fingers all the way up to rib 1. There's no real trick to walking your fingers. You can do it in any manner. The way I like to do it is I'll start with my thumb on the prevailing edge of a rib. So here I'll start on rib 12, and then I'll move my forefinger up to rib 11 and maybe add my other fingers as well. And I'll feel for that edge, and I'll feel for the valley in between to confirm that I'm up on the next rib. So once I'm there, I'll engage my fingers into the rib there, and then I'll move my thumb up to that same rib. And so then I know I'm on the next rib up. I'll do the same thing. I'll bring my forefinger and maybe my middle finger up. I'll feel for the next ridge. I'll feel for the next valley to make sure. And then I'll know for sure that I'm on rib 10. And once I'm on rib 10, I'll go ahead and move my thumb up and anchor it there as well. So I'll just keep doing this process all the way up, walking my fingers, anchoring my thumb, walking my fingers to the next rib, anchoring my thumb. So as we come around, the scapula is oftentimes going to be in the way. So you can move the shoulder a little bit further out of the way in order to expose what is essentially the rib angle here on the back lateral edge. So as I go, I'm sort of going to be coming in closer to the spine by necessity as the ribs are sloping and the ribs are getting smaller up top. It can get a little bit confusing in here, so just take your time, practice, and with patience, you'll be able to make it all the way up. One of the most important aspects to identifying and counting each rib is the assessment process that will also take place during this practice. So as we go and as you go, you're going to be assessing each rib for mobility, for distortion, whether it's dug into another rib or maybe it's pushing back at us, and how the ribs relate to each other. All those things we're going to begin noting as we have our accuracy. Okay, and now back with a live model. And the first thing I'm going to find is the crest of the ilium of the hip, which is right about here. And between the crest of the ilium and the 12th rib, we're going to have a space at the lumbars. And so I want to let my fingers just sort of slip into that space so I can feel the lumbar vertebrae or the sides of them. And then I'm going to start walking or working my fingers up until I'm sure I'm hitting a rib. And I'm starting to hit rib 12 right about here. And rib 12 is going to be about as long as a finger. The end of it is going to be right about here. Rib 11, right above it, is going to be a little bit longer. It's going to stretch around the body a little bit further than rib 12, and you're going to find the end of it right about here. So working my fingers up, I can start to feel rib 12 there. I'm going to come out on the end and feel for the point, and I can feel that, so I'm confirming that I'm on rib 12. And then once I find rib 12, I can walk my fingers up. And so here I'm just going to anchor my forefinger, move my middle finger up, and I should be on rib 11. I'm going to come out and feel for the point, and there it is, and it's right about the midline of the body. So once I've established ribs 12 and 11, I'm going to go ahead and anchor on rib 11 here. I'm going to walk my fingers up, and I can feel, I'm feeling for rib 10, and I can feel the valley in between. I can feel the peak of the rib right here. And so I'm going to anchor my fingers onto rib 10, walk my forefinger back up to join them, and I'm going to anchor my fingers there. Here I'm going to switch hands just for the camera, but I'm on rib 10. So I'll anchor my fingers there, walk my fingers up, and I should be able to feel rib 9, and it's right there. Walk my fingers up again, and I should be able to feel rib 8. And I'm going to continue the process. I'm up in rib 7, and following that around, the ribs are going to take a curve here, so just be aware. So anchoring on rib 7, I walk my fingers up to rib 6. And as I'm going, again, I'm getting closer to the spine. I'm following essentially the rib angle here. It's where the ribs take a corner around the body. So on rib 6, I'm going to walk my fingers up into rib 5. And it's definitely getting a lot tighter up in here. Okay, so on rib 5, walk my fingers up again, and I'm on rib 4. Anchor there, walk my fingers up again, and I'm on rib 3. Rib 4 to me feels a little bit pushed in compared to ribs 5 and 3, so that's something I'm going to take note of. And on 3, I'm going to anchor there and walk up into rib 2, and that's a little bit forward, and again we're going closer into the spine. And then once I'm on 2, I can come up and find at the very top rib 1 right about there.